Now you're unmuted. And now you're on camera.
Okay. Ready? Okay, call the meeting, the Board of Adjustment to order. Was this meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Okay. We need a roll call of members present.
Bob Binkowski said present. Richard Matsky,
Present.
Bob Kraus,
Present.
all are present and accounted for. We have a quorum.
Okay. Please rise and join me in Pledge of Allegiance. Ouch. I pledge allegiance. Sorry. Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We need approval of the minutes as written.
I have one correction. In the opening paragraph on line 5, there's a typo on my name. Janine, did you find that?
Yes, I will take care of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there any other correction? If not, I have a motion to approve.
I move to approve with the correction.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes have been approved. We will open the public hearings now.
The first application is for Joseph Zisas. It's a special exception request under section 39630A3 of the Adams County Shoreline, Wetland, and Habitat Protection Ordinance for filling or grading of more than 2,000 square feet on slopes of less than 12% on property located in the part of government lot 1, section 14, T15 North, range 7 East. The address is 3294 3rd Ave, town of Jackson. The agent is online, I see, and he can probably explain the project a little better than I can, but it does involve shoreline work. Go ahead, Todd, if you want to explain that in a little more detail.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Basically what we're doing is we're trying to match the existing shoreline that's there is now underwater. We would like to raise the rock up so it's above the water, roughly about a foot above the water, and then fill behind it. You know, so at low times, this area has always been dry until now. And then the other thing we're trying to do is he's got an existing boathouse. He would like to rebuild it the same as it is, you know, not changing it. It's actually smaller than the square footage that's allowed, but he would like to just mimic what he's got.
The boathouse under this wouldn't necessarily be part of this request because it meets the ordinance.
Okay.
And I did receive correspondence. The town of Jackson did not object to this request.
Okay, so we're good on just a rebuild.
You have all the necessary permits, don't you?
For
Am I on? No, him.
Yeah.
You do, okay, because you are gonna be working in the lake and it requires a permit,
yep,
okay. You're just going back to the natural shoreline of what it was.
right. And we're just gonna
Am
raise
I-
up where you can kind of see where the rock was. So we're just gonna pretty much rise the rock up and then fill behind it to gain the land back.
Okay,
We've issued a number of permits similar to this year because of the high water on some of the lakes in the south. The difference on this one is that it's over 2,000 square feet of disturbance, so that's why they're here. But we have issued probably 30 or so permits for similar activities, just on a smaller scale.
No objections from the DNR?
Nope.
Nope.
Thank you.
okay.
Todd, I have a couple questions.
Yep.
The area to be filled, the two areas on both sides of the dock there, is that gonna be pretty flat after the fill is done with no runoff?
Yeah, it'll be basically pretty flat, and then the rock that we put there for the revetment will actually act as a filter. There's wash stone behind it, so any water that does run that way is going to have to filter through the rock that we have.
Okay, and what size rock you putting for the riprap on the seawall?
The seawall will be 6 to 16 or 6 to 12 inch, and then behind it we're going to have behind it and above anything that's below the water, we're going to fill with like a 3/4 inch wash. A clean
Okay.
one, so it's got filtration.
Right,
Okay,
and the boathouse, we're not approving the boathouse, are we?
No, I think what Dusty just said is that is pre-approved as long as we stay within our, we don't get any bigger, don't change it, we don't modify it.
Yeah,
That is correct.
okay.
I
no
have
other
a question. I have a question on the boathouse. You're not changing the height or anything, right?
No,
The boathouse has nothing to do with this at all.
All right.
That's a unrelated matter.
I thought this was included in the, no? Okay,
Nope.
okay. Okay, having it, any more questions, Bob?
I move we approve the application.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, the next application is for Alan Edmondson.
all right, thank you.
Oh, my Todd.
Yep.
This is a special exception request under section 396-61 of the Adams County Shoreline Wetland and Habitat Protection Ordinance to allow construction of condominiums with 3 units on property located in section 20, T20 North, Range 5 East, Government Lot 2, CSM 6377. The address is 160A County Road Z, Town of Rome. This was actually this was on the agenda for the zoning committee on Wednesday to rezone the property, which would then allow for them to even apply for this today. The final approval, the rezone was approved at the committee level and level, obviously. The final approval on the rezone won't take place until next Tuesday at the full county board. So if the application is approved, I would recommend putting the condition on that it is only valid if approved at county board.
Okay.
And in a nutshell, Mr. Edmondson, I believe, is online.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
And can you mute yourself, Bob? Okay. So he's building 3 separate structures, 3 different houses on one parcel. It is going to be set up as a condominium, which does require certain requirements as far as what's in the documentation that gets filed. Mr. Edmondson did work with the town of Rome quite extensively, and they did approve this in their, I believe it was their November meeting. And if you guys have any questions, or if I missed anything, Mr. Edmondson, certainly feel free to add in.
I can answer any questions that anybody has.
I have a question. A little confused on the paperwork. The application states 3 units. That document about Sunset Bay condominiums says 6 standalone homes. And the fact-finding sheet says allows condominiums with 3 units each. I'm a little confused on what the language is there.
I think the confusion is I also have an option to purchase the lot next door, and I'm going to put 3 there after I finish these 3, if everything goes through.
Okay, so the zoning people from Rome have approved those three standalones right now.
Yes, because I haven't purchased the other lot. I just have I purchased an option to purchase them June 1st, the second lot
June 1st of this year, next year,
next year.
Okay. And these units, are they for sale? Are they renting, or does it,
They will be for sale.
okay. And are we approving, Dusty, maybe you can answer this. Are we approving the buildings or the use of wetlands, or what are we actually approving?
What you're approving is the use of being a condominium.
Okay.
None of the rest of the stuff, that's all been taken care of and meets the ordinance. In the list of permitted uses, condominiums aren't listed. It's talked about in the general requirements. But really, in order to put in a condominium, you have to have special approval, and that's what you guys are approving.
Okay.
And I did not receive any correspondence from the neighbors.
Okay.
Prior to the rezone request, I did receive a call from one of the neighbors. Didn't express an opinion really one way or the other. And I told them when the meetings were. So I don't know if they are online, but you'll definitely want to ask for input from the public. And I think Bob Kraus had a question.
Bob, have a question?
I think Richie's talking about septic system.
Yeah, I had that as a question also. I don't think that's our concern, but so we're just approving the land use for a condominium.
That's my understanding too, Rich.
Because Rome has done the building permits and done all that approval.
Rich, we're just having some computer issues here we're trying to fix.
Okay, good.
This is to the north of Romano's.
Yes.
Well, this is down off Z.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Edmondson, do you have a time schedule on this?
As soon as I get all the permits, I'm going to pour the concrete yet this year. And for the first unit and possibly the second, as long as the weather holds for me. And I plan to have them all done, the first 3 done by July.
Okay. And you'll start on the other project.
Yeah, then I plan to go right next door and build more.
All right, so you pour a slab and then the garage is underneath the living space?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're 24 by 30 with a 2-bedroom apartment above.
okay, and a half bath down on the lower level.
Yeah, so people don't have to go upstairs if they're using the lady outside.
Right, okay. Yeah, they look
That-
like pretty neat little units.
Yeah, I like them. The bathroom area, also, I'm building that to FEMA code for a storm shelter. FEMA has a design that will build that will, if I follow that to their specifications, it becomes like a 250 mile an hour wind
Whoa,
safety area.
okay. Did Bob have his question on the septic, Dusty?
Yes, I had a question as to what type of septic is going in.
Each unit will have a 2-bedroom conventional. The state has approved the design. I should be receiving the permit number today.
I have one other question for you. What is the square footage of each lot for the condo?
The square footage, 56,000 some odd feet.
Yes, well, what, on each individual condo, how much square footage surrounds it?
Around them.
Yeah,
I've spaced them out. I don't have it sitting here with me.
approximation.
They're spaced out. There's the front 2, there's 100 feet between them. And then the other one sits back a little over 100 feet. So the lot is about 1 acre, and it's basically the 2 front ones sit by the road and they're spaced out as far as they can be spaced. And then the other one sits back in the corner. So that acre is basically split into thirds.
Okay. I'm not familiar with what the requirements are here, but I know in Illinois, when I built houses down there, I had a minimum square footage before I could put a septic in. And that's
Okay,
why I thought, does this apply here, Dustin?
He meets the requirements.
Yeah, okay. All right, and he's within that? Okay. So basically what we're looking for is a motion to
You're gonna
Table
wanna see
this.
if any, make sure you ask for public input.
Yeah.
Ask for any comments from the public.
Oh, okay, is there any more comments by anybody?
Just to clarify, Mr. Amundson, you would then, on this other property, you would come back and then do this process again, get approval from Rome, and then come back through us again, correct?
Yes,
Correct.
that's my
Right.
plan.
The chairman did ask for any members of the public that would like to weigh
Then
in
we-
on this.
Then we should make a motion to table this till after the county.
No.
Don't?
I move we approve the application with the condition that it's approved by the board in their next meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next application is for Timothy and Cynthia Hone. Special exception request under section 405-12C of the Adams County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow an accessory building before a primary on property located in the northeast quarter, section 12, T16 North, range 6 East, lot 1, CSM 2223, The address is 722 Eagle Court in the town of Easton. I did receive someplace here. The town of Easton did not object to this request. And I believe Mr. Heen is on the line, and I'm probably butchering your name. Would you like to add to this what we've put on there?
Okay.
You're muted.
This is,
He's gonna be adding. He was just muted there. Now you're good.
Can you hear me?
there.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
If there's anything you'd like to add, yeah.
It's a, basically a cold storage until, to put some of my stuff in. I have some tractors up there. As I get the building material to keep locked up. On the sketch they had drawn, I know there's concern about people living in their pole barn, parking their campers in there. When I bought the property, it had the electric, but it's only got 100 amp service. So that's why I'm not looking to put power to the building or nothing until I'm doing the house and having them run everything at one time. I had the septic put in by Foster's. That where my electric is now and my well to work with the house up on the hill. So the building is over 100 feet away from where the house is gonna be.
Do we have anything from the neighbors, Dustin?
No.
Okay. Yeah, this is what the confusing part of this thing is. The town writes primary resident needed to be built prior to pole building being built. They have, that is not in their ordinance. Now at the bottom, they say, okay, go ahead and do it. So it's not intrusive on anybody. And
You know what, that may be what I wrote in there, trying to fill out the application.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I can clarify a little more. The town of Easton has no requirements regarding this at all.
Yeah.
It's the county zoning ordinance. And just the way he worded it, does the town have regulations? It's actually the county that does. But the town felt that it was okay to
okay,
go ahead with that.
okay. There's any other questions on this?
I have several questions.
I need a motion.
No, I have a
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry. I thought you said no other question.
And I have several questions. Because this town document says that a primary resident needs to be built, that is according to the zoning from the county, because Easton is not on their own zoning. What is the schedule for the primary residence to be built?
Right now, we're looking at different house plans. Me and my wife are trying to agree on a house plan. At this given time with COVID going on, her job's day to day. So I would really like to say by the end of next summer to at least start getting have the house picked and get something started with permits. But I can't give you 100%, on that, on the time frame, but I am hoping for by the end of next summer to have something started.
Yeah, I think you raised the point on why the county doesn't like buildings built without a primary residence, because it ends up there's never a primary residence done. On your drawing, is there a camper there now?
Yes,
Did you say the septic is in?
there's a septic and well are in.
And the trailer, the camper is hooked up to the septic?
Yes,
And the house is going to go in that same spot.
basically where the camper's sitting right in that area.
Okay, and that, I
There's a-
can't,
There's a box there. The electric would end up being moved because that's in the way of it.
right,
Coming in, and like I said,
Right.
I'll be having a 200 amp service ran in anyway, so that's not.
sure, sure. And that other square there, is that a screen house? Is that what that says?
Yeah, it's a 10 by
Okay.
10
Yeah,
freestanding screen house.
yeah, I couldn't read that. Well, it looks like a pretty good plan. The concern I have is that very thing about what the town put on there. Not
The town did
object,
not put, Richard, the town did not put that on there. That's what I just said.
oh,
The applicant wrote that. The town did not say that.
oh, oh,
The town didn't write this in here?
No, the applicants filled that out.
when the town just signed it,
The town said, we do not object to him building the shed first.
okay?
They
Okay.
did not say that
Uh,
they want him to build the house first or anything else.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I thought this was written in by the town.
Nope, that is the applicant's writing.
Okay, well, this wasn't made clear, so I apologize.
Yep, that's why I just want to make sure everybody knew.
Yeah, that
Okay.
form is usually filled out by the towns.
No.
Yeah.
We have the applicant fill it out.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the time I fill it out. But if I don't, the applicant does.
Okay,
Yeah, it looks like a nice building. I have the concern of not having a primary residence there. The thought I have is that, been through a couple situations like this before in my town up here in Preston, that, to have a sunset clause in there of when the residence is going to be built. That is what I'm thinking. Bob, what do you think about that?
I have no idea what this gentleman's plans are. All right. He has the infrastructure to start the house. He has his well and his septic. The intent to build is there. If he needs a primary, secondary structure on a lot before the primary structure's up, I have no problem with that. It's a well-built building. The neighbors, it's away from everybody. It's in the back of the lot. So,
You know, Rich, this is not the first time we're approving a building without a primary residence on it.
yeah,
We've done it many times in the past.
Just having a clause in there, a condition of when the residence would be built. If that is the intention, and it sounds like it is, to put a sunset clause in there of what's reasonable. You're talking about next summer, but if we put a clause in there of 18 months or even 2 years, then if it's not built when that sunset clause comes up, then it comes back for re-review is the only thought. Because having these buildings, and again, it's a building, but then someone else comes and says, hey, he could do it down there. He built a building and no residence. Why can't I do it? It's hard to justify it. So I would say, if we put a sunset clause in there, I would not be opposed to starting this building. But without that, I will not approve it.
Now, they did ask me at the town meeting, one of the gentlemen that was there said that he would want the trailer to stay where it's at until the house is being built, so it's visible to show that it's not being put into the building or living in the building, or, you know, that was something he had asked for.
Well, because it's set up with a septic system and power, it's livable right now.
Okay.
So I would just like to encourage, and you're saying that our primary residence is in the plan. At least you're talking about looking for plans on what to build. Is that correct again?
And looking at different plans, whether it be a double wide or through Terrace, looking
Right.
at some of their plans.
Right.
It's really gonna depend on what's happening and where the money's at on how fast it gets done.
Well, how do you feel about having a clause in there saying it needs to be built in 24 months? Is that reasonable?
If for some reason it couldn't, then what?
Then it comes back to this committee
Goes back through.
for approval but you want to build, actually, Dustin, maybe you can help me on this. You would be in violation, I guess, if it isn't built in 24 months. Is that correct?
If you put that as a condition, if the house is not built within 24 months, the
Yeah.
garage is in violation, would have to come down unless this board gives him an extension.
Right.
The other thing that I did want to point out is that this requirement is only in residential zoning. Had the property been zoned ag, he could have built this without coming to any special meetings. That is allowed.
Hmm.
This requirement only applies to residentially zoned properties.
So I'd be able to zone it ag.
You could go through that process. That's a little tougher in the fact that it's a smaller lot and it doesn't meet any of the ag zoning district sizes, which is why I suggested going through this route.
Hmm.
Is 2 years reasonable? I mean, I think it's more than enough time.
To get something started. Yes, I just, like I said, wondering what happens if it doesn't.
We would have to do it where you would come back to this board to reconsider it. But if that is what happens, the board could certainly deny it. At that point, the shed would have to come down if they put that condition in.
I just think 2 years, if you're sincere about building, 2 years is more than enough time to complete it.
It's a time limit, Scanlon.
What I'm saying is, say it wasn't until the following spring before I got the permits, or started. So, I guess the 2 year to have something
Oops.
to apply for permits, that time frame, I'd feel better. Not saying it's completed in 2 years, but within the next 2 years, I'd have to come up with, have my plans in and go for the permit and have permits listed.
Hmm.
Are we allowed to impose a time limit on this?
The barn wasn't.
We can't.
Till next
Oh,
summer.
yes.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion, Richard, with the time limit you suggested?
Well, I want to make sure Tim is in agreement. He kind of nodded his head, but I don't want to put him against the wall here. It seems like, as Bob was saying, Bob Benkowski, 2 years seems like, if that is the intention, if that truly is the intention as noted on the plan, then 2 years seems like a reasonable amount of time. I'm just asking for agreement from Tim.
Well, I don't agree to the completion. Because the barn's not looking until next summer to be built. I'm just trying to get everything done in advance. So, I'm saying if I don't get the house started until the following year.
Okay. When you do the plan, up,
with everything that's going on and something happens and all of a sudden,
sure,
the bottom falls off and I'm sitting at home for the next 6 months or
Yeah.
9 months and not being able to work, I don't want, I can't put, my wife would kill me. I mean, bottom line.
Well,
You
we don't
know,
want that.
If it was up to me, I'd be building it today.
Okay.
Honestly, like I said, my job's up and down right now. Hers, she works for the school district. All of a sudden, she went into work one day and they said, you guys are home for 2 weeks. Then all of a sudden they call them back. She's been back for a week. Now they're talking about not having in school again for, because of the Christmas holidays. So that's my concern. And I mean, when I purchased the property, like I said, the well was on there, the electric was on there. In the plans on building a house, I picked the area because the well was there and all that.
Sure.
That's why I went over with Dave Foster, where the septic would go, and it would work off to this side. So I'm working on getting it. I guess my thing is if it was a normal year, I could agree, but I had already put the money out for the building, not knowing that I had to have the primary residence first. That's why I got it pushed away from the house so that it's not, I maintain that 5 acres with stuff up there. I live 3 hours away. So I have stuff up there, some tractors and my Bobcat and stuff. My aunt and uncle have 17 acres that tie to me behind. My uncle's 75 years old this year. He wasn't able to help. So I'm trying to help them maintain their 17 acres besides. So it's the driving back and forth with the, hauling the tractors and stuff that I'm just trying to get somewhere to put the stuff, to maintain it. And as I get this going with the house, I've got my stuff moved up there that I can sell my house back here. Like I said, that's why I had the septic done prior, because my camper was there. I didn't want to go against any, somebody said, well, your camper's sitting there, where's your sewage go? Putting it in them tote tanks is.
Right.
So that's why it's laid out the way it is. It's my intent that the house is going right there. Like I said, if it was up to me, I'd be up there building now.
Yeah.
Well, we need a motion based on your observation, Richard. You wish to make a motion.
Well, it's unusual times. I understand all the situations with working. I just think having, if the plan is to build a permanent residence, there needs to be a time schedule that we're all aiming for. So I think 2 years is not unreasonable. If things fall apart, Tim, you can still come back to our committee in 2 years. It'll be on the calendar. So I move that we approve the application with the condition that there's a permanent residence built in 24 months from this December.
Is that completed or started?
Well, it's talking about a terrace home or a double wide. Those are all prefabs, right?
Yes.
I'm looking at that, and it's also, like I said, it's dependent on the money. I mean, yeah, they're nice. I tried to see if they do the outer structure, but they want the complete package, through terrace. I had looked at the double wide trailers. Problem is, my wife wants tornado shelter. She wants a basement under it. So that's she's pushing away from that, going more to the house. Honestly, I feel I can have it stick built cheaper than having Terrace come in and want to do the entire package. I'm still looking in at a Wausau will do prefab without the entire, internal part of the house, which is I could save money. I can go to Menards or Home Depot and get that stuff a little cheaper than what they're charging on their markups on it. That's why I say, I'd feel better with being not completed, but in the process of having permits.
Could you agree that you're going to start it within 2 years?
Yes,
Not just permits, but start building it.
yes,
Could you agree to that?
yes.
And let's add that to the motion, that the building will be started, meaning permits and construction started within 24 months.
I'll second that motion.
Motion to made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, Bob, now you got to vote on the actual application with the condition. That
Yep.
vote was just for the condition.
Yep.
But you should also open it up to the public too, for any comment.
I didn't catch.
You have to open it to the public for comment.
Oh. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, we'll open the meeting for public comment.
Now vote on the application.
Okay,
So
We're done?
I
Oh.
move to approve the application with
I
the,
thought-
condition that the
Excuse me.
house,
No, hey, it's Dustin, it's my hearing aids. You're not gonna approve it. It's just difficult to hear. What was that, Rich?
go back to the application. I move to approve the application with the condition that a house is started within 24 months from this date.
Bob,
I will second
Okay.
that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
And don't forget to come in and get your permits from our office.
For the building permits
Yes.
for the house.
Yep. No, for the shed.
For-
Or do I already have the application? I do, don't I?
Because
All
I
right.
applied for the application prior to
That's right.
me knowing that you had to go through.
Yep.
through
Okay,
this.
good.
All right, so we'll get that in the works.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, the last application is for Brad and Christina Hook. It's a special exception request under section 396-30A1 of the Adams County Shoreline Wetland and Habitat Protection Ordinance for construction of a clay and rock lined flume on slopes of more than 20% on property located in the northwest quarter, southwest quarter, section 5 T18 North, range 6 East, lot 2 CSM 1993. The address is 1191 Chicago Drive, Town of Preston. It is not part of the paperwork, but the town clerk for the Town of Preston did say the town approved this. And you guys have the pictures and they don't, I visited the site 2 or 3 times now. Just to give a brief recap of what's happened. And the applicant and I believe his engineer are both on the call. At some point, there was some shoreline work done because there was an erosion issue. They've added rock, tried a few different methods. And as you can see in the pictures, somehow there ended up being a sinkhole. This thing is over my head tall. And most of that ended up out in the lake, or all of it ended up out in the lake. And you can see that in the various photos that they have.
I do want to make one correction there. This is Brad Hook. The sinkhole actually started in March before anything was done on the shoreline. We came one weekend in March, and my neighbor can attest to this as well. That's when we didn't know it was a sinkhole at the time, but there was a bunch of sand that had happened in the water, and there was a huge divot. At that point was when we contacted the DNR. They did not call us back. We then hired a local company landscaping company. They recommended putting the rock in. That's when it was put in. The sinkhole finally formed when we had 6 inches of rain in, what was that, August or July, August, sorry, I forget the date. And that's when actually then it completely collapsed at that point. So the sinkhole was not caused because of things that we did. It just started happening in March timeframe. So just wanted that correction.
Thank you. So the plan before you is they do have an engineer on staff, landscaper. They're attempting to fix the problem. And it's on fairly steep slopes, and anything over a 20% slope requires approval by this board. And they are also working with the Kaysen at Land and Water. He has been out there. I guess Chuck has actually. Well, both of them. And I would suggest anything that they do ends up as an approved plan. I mean, if this board does approve it, I would suggest the requirement be that it is on a plan approved by the Land and Water. The final plan has to be approved by Kaysen's office.
Okay. Well, this sinkhole with this collapsed stairway is denying them use of the shoreline, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's an unsafe condition.
yes, I would
Okay.
agree.
Okay. Yeah. As long as Land and Water's involved and all the permits are done. You have any questions, Bob?
No, I'm good.
I have a couple questions, Bob.
Richard?
Yes. Actually, I live on that lake just down the street from Mr. Hook, and my neighbor also has a sinkhole that's about a 3-foot opening and it's 6 foot deep. I think talking to the DNR that it could have been a collapsed beaver home. We have beaver on the lake and they burrow into the shore. And I think that's what mine is. And Mr. Hook, yours may be the same thing. We have a lot of muskrats and a lot of animals burrowing into the sandy shores, and with the steep slope, the rain events we've had, it does collapse. So it could have been that. A couple other questions. And I go by there often in my pontoon, so I'm familiar with the property. I've not noticed the collapsing, but what is the slope from the house down to at least the top of the stairway?
Larry, you may be able to help me on that. I think we did have surveyors come out.
Is Larry the engineer?
Yes.
And I can jump in on that. One of the parts of the application was there is a contour map. I'm assuming you
Oh,
got that.
I did get that.
All right, so when the lines are really spaced
There
apart,
you are.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fairly shallow slope. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to say level, but there's not much to it. Once you hit that bank, then it's a
Oh, I know, it's straight down.
exactly.
Yeah, my reason for asking is, is there grass there now?
Yes.
So any kind of runoff, even if there's a flume there, so it doesn't erode, any nutrients from the grass fertilizing will still go into the lake. So I guess, Mr. Hook, you fertilize your lawn?
No, it's actually all, it's very sandy, as you know.
Yes.
We don't because we don't even water it because we don't really have a watering system there currently.
Then you'd have to mow it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it riparian zones or anything growing there? Any kind of weeds or leaves or
No,
shrub?
it's a lot of mosses, right? Because it's sandy and acidic soil, so it's hard to even get grass to grow because it's so kind of just the moss. But there is grass and moss, I guess
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, Dusty, I think to your point, because Chuck has been out there, I think Case has been out there too. I talked to Chuck and one thing is maybe to have a little more riparian zone plantings, even if it's native plants, to slow that down. It looks like the plan is very well done. I think the engineer's done a good job, and that certainly will help the erosion. The concern is still the nutrients, the phosphorus or the nitrates still going in the lake is always a concern with those steep banks. So just concerned about that. That's all I have,
And
Bob.
I was just gonna say, if you wanted to add that requirement that they put in a 35-foot deep buffer strip or whatever you choose, you would have to put that in as a condition.
Yeah, I have that down. I was going to do that. Because Chuck's been out there and Case has been out there. That would be a good thing to help slow any kind of flow into the lake, even if it's not a real steep flow. There's still drainage with the rain events we've been getting. I know at my place, it just runs into the lake ferociously. So. Okay.
Well, you have anything, Bob? Okay. We need a motion to approve or disapprove.
I move to approve the application with the condition that there is a plan for a riparian zone with the Land and Water Department.
And is that for a full 35-foot?
For the full 35-foot of the riparian, yes.
I'll second that motion.
Okay,
Before you take that final vote,
yes.
you should ask the public for input also.
Oh, okay. Do we have any public comment?
There's
Hearing none, we'll
There's two
continue.
people on the
to
call.
vote.
I don't know why they're here. I mean, if I thought they would have commented.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
We didn't vote.
That concludes the business of the board for today.
We didn't have an official
Oh,
vote.
I'm sorry.
He did call for it.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
All
Aye.
those in favor. Now
Aye.
Richard says aye.
He didn't vote?
I didn't hear it.
Good. We're all set.
I thought I heard him say yes.
I must have coughed or something. Mr. Hook, you still on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I think that cost sheet from the engineer, that seems like a reasonable price for what they're doing.
Okay.
That should be good. And I think that's not aesthetically displeasing to anyone going by it. Appreciate you taking care of that. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Rich.
Okay.
May we have a vote on this? All in favor?
I thought we voted. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Does this conclude our business now? Thank you. Do we have any correspondence? Set the next meeting date.
Dusty, I have a question before we hang up.
Okay.
Next meeting dates next year, 2021,
Yep.
January 4th.
That's what we're just looking at.
Oh, holiday weekend.
Yeah, coming right back from the holiday. Do we want to push it back a week? the next meeting's supposed to be January 4th,
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah.
it's right after the holidays. Do we want to build in another week?
You
So
want to do it the 11th?
Does that work for you guys?
I would like it on the 11th.
Acceptable.
11th.
Richard and Bob and you all say yes, so
Yep.
let's do it on January 11th. Do we even have any applicants?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we, this is just our group now, right? There's nobody out? Okay. Is an interesting sidelight to this sinkhole business. You know, they dropped Lake Mason 3 feet to control weeds. Remember you came out to look at that shoreline thing they were doing? Okay, the house just, what would that be? East of him, or west of him, I mean. Since they let the water down, it took the pressure off of the shore. He's got an old conventional septic. His yard dropped over a foot. And all the old systems that were put in years ago in the clay and that, they're settling because the pressure is off the bank and the seepage is starting.
Wow.
An aerial survey about 15 years ago of the lake after a drawdown, and you could actually track the heat stick leaching into the lake from after the drawdown was done.
Wow.
So it's happening again. So this washout, these sinkholes are going to become more and more common. Anyway, I need a motion. The meeting date's been set for the 11th of January.
Right.
Just to adjourn. Don't run away, Richard.
I'm here. Did we vote on something?
Yes.
Yes, for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I agree. Dusty, another point, I noticed in the paper that Have a Heart is in front of the zoning committee on 2 issues. What's the deal?
No, they were on the schedule for that. She decided to apply for she had gotten an attorney and the attorney suggested applying for a rezoning and then a conditional use.
All right.
You guys